Let's be real, every Battlefield fan has trust issues at this point. Battlefield 2042 scarred us. Battlefield 5 before that wasn't exactly smooth sailing either, and if you were around for Battlefield 4's launch, you probably still wake up in cold sweats remembering rubber banding, crashes, and lag so bad it felt like playing inside a blender. So, when people saw Battlefield 6 trending on release day, most of us expected disaster. Servers exploding, players getting stuck on loading screens, and Reddit melting down like usual. But nope. DICE actually pulled it off. Queue times were huge, 500,000 players trying to get in, but somehow the servers held. I sat in a queue that said 500,000 players ahead, and 5 minutes later, I was in. No disconnects, no weird lag spikes, just pure Battlefield chaos. And that's the thing. For once, the only thing that broke wasn't the game, it was the launcher. Here's where things get interesting. If you bought Battlefield 6 through the EA app, there was this ridiculous bug that basically told you didn't own the game. You could boot it up, see the menus, but you couldn't play multiplayer. It was like paying for a burger and being told you're not allowed to eat it. Naturally, people were losing it. Now, I'll admit, I was one of the lucky ones who found a workaround. If you jumped into the server browser, clicked the match details, then joined from there, it would let you in. It was a weird loophole, but it worked. I ended up playing all day, grinding for 8 straight hours. Still, that bug shouldn't have existed at all. And here's where things take a wild turn. Because instead of ignoring it like usual, EA actually apologized. And not in the usual, sorry, here's a tweet in a 2xp weekend kind of way. I'm talking about real compensation. This one blew my mind. EA dropped an official statement that said, "Today, we experienced an outage on the EA app that prevented some players from accessing Battlefield 6. We know this was frustrating, so we're offering an apology with in-game perks." And then they listed them: 12 hardware XP boosters, 12 career XP boosters, and a free full battle pass for anyone affected. And that's not even the crazy part. If you bought the Phantom Edition, they gave you Season 2's Battle Pass 2 for free. Let me put this in perspective. Most games would just say, "Sorry for the inconvenience," and maybe toss you a skin you'll never use. EA, they basically gave people infinite battle passes. Why? Because if you complete one pass, it rewards enough currency to unlock the next. Meaning, if you play consistently, you may never have to buy another one again. That's not just an apology. That's EA saying, "Our bad, here's your time back." And for the first time in, a decade? They actually respected players' time. No microtransaction nonsense, no pay-to-win bait, just pure goodwill. I can't believe I'm saying that about EA. And you know what? That set the tone for the rest of the launch. Because despite the launcher mess, the actual game underneath, flawless. I'm not exaggerating when I say this. Battlefield 6 is the first game in the series to launch smoothly. Every Battlefield before this had some level of chaos. Battlefield 4 took nearly a year to stabilize. Battlefield 1, gorgeous, but full of netcode issues at launch. 2042, we don't even talk about that. But Battlefield 6, you jump in and it just works. The frame rate is stable, the servers don't implode, the gunplay feels polished. It's like they finally listened. And the craziest part, I think DICE knows exactly how big this is. You can feel the pride in every detail. The sound design, the pacing, even the server optimization. It's like they took every mistake from the last decade and said, never again. For years, we've joked about the Battlefield cycle. Launch broken, fix it a year later, and then everyone calls it underrated. But for the first time, that cycle might actually be over. This is what Battlefield should have always been. Playable, beautiful, and packed with energy on day one. You can tell something's changed behind the scenes. This wasn't the rushed, corporate-driven launch we've seen before. This felt like DICE had actual breathing room. EA finally realized, hey, maybe we should let our developers finish the game before selling it. And the result speaks for itself. The servers were hammered with millions of players and didn't collapse. The performance across platforms was shockingly consistent. And even though the EA app had issues, once you got past that, the gameplay itself was perfect. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still bugs. Every game has them. But they're not game-breaking, they're not stopping you from playing, and that's a massive improvement. You know what this feels like? It feels like DICE rediscovered their identity. For years, they were trying to chase trends, hero shooters, battle passes, whatever was in. But Battlefield 6, this is pure, classic, chaotic Battlefield. Explosions, teamwork, scale. It's all there, and it's actually stable. I know some people are thinking, it's just a working launch, what's the big deal? But that's exactly the point. The bar has been so low for so long that a functioning Battlefield feels revolutionary. It shouldn't be a miracle to get a working FPS on day one, but here we are. And DICE finally delivered it. This is the turning point. The moment the franchise stopped being the what-if story and started being the finally did it story. And you can feel that excitement across the community. Streamers are back. Reddit isn't full of "this game is dead" threads. People are actually having fun again, and that hasn't happened in years. So, yeah, it's more than just a good launch. It's Battlefield redeeming itself in real time. But that's not even the best part, because what comes next might make this game unstoppable. Here's what really gets me hyped. Because the game launched stable, DICE doesn't have to spend the next 6 months fixing basic issues. Instead, they can focus entirely on content. That means new maps, new weapons, new modes, and most importantly, Season 1 is already ready to go. Normally, we'd be waiting half a year for content, because the devs would be putting out fires. But not this time. They're already teasing Season 1 drops, and that tells me the studio actually planned ahead. We're entering uncharted territory here, a battlefield that can grow instead of recover, and I can't even begin to explain how refreshing that feels. For once, we're not saying, maybe it'll be good in a year. We're saying, it's good right now, and it's only going to get better. I can't lie. Seeing Battlefield players happy again hits different. My entire feed is full of clips, montages, and people just enjoying themselves. No toxic arguments, no refund demands, no dead game comments. Just pure excitement. And yeah, sure, there are small complaints. There always will be. But the tone has shifted completely. Instead of, "this game sucks," it's, "this game could be great." That's the difference. People care again. And that's something you can't fake with marketing or hype trailers. It only happens when the product earns it. Here's the wild part. This isn't just a good launch. This feels like a comeback story. For the first time in a long time, Battlefield isn't being talked about as the broken game that might get better later. It's being talked about as the shooter that just woke back up. You can feel it everywhere. In the Reddit threads, in the Twitch chat, even in random game lobbies. Players who swore off the franchise after 2042 are saying, "Wait, this is actually fun." And it's not nostalgia. It's the fact that Battlefield 6 finally nails that chaotic cinematic experience we've all been missing. Tanks exploding, jets streaking overhead, full-scale firefights that actually run smoothly. It's that perfect mix of skill and spectacle that made this series legendary in the first place. Most people don't realize how big that is, because when a franchise loses trust, it's almost impossible to win it back. Yet here we are, a working Battlefield, packed servers, and a community that actually believes again. And what's even crazier, EA's not hiding from the community this time. They're engaging, responding, and even poking fun at themselves on social media. It's like they finally remembered how to be human. You can tell the developers poured everything into this one. The gunplay feels tighter, recoil is predictable but still skill-based, the sound design is absolutely cinematic. Every explosion, every bullet whizzing past, it feels handcrafted. It's almost poetic, right? The same studio that was dragged through the mud for years, memed to oblivion, written off as done, just dropped one of the smoothest FPS launches in modern history. And let's not pretend this was easy. DICE had to rebuild trust, fix their reputation, and re-earn the player base, all while the entire FPS market was moving on. Call of Duty had Warzone, Apex was dominating, even smaller shooters were stealing the spotlight. Battlefield 6 had no room for mistakes, and they still pulled it off. That's not luck, that's dedication. And honestly, you can feel the relief in the dev team. You can tell they're proud again. That's something no patch notes can fake. Here's where it gets really interesting. Because for once, the community isn't spending launch week writing essays about broken hit reg or frame drops. They're making guides, tutorials, and loadout videos. They're comparing weapons, debating balance, and actually playing the game instead of complaining about it. You know what that tells me? People finally trust Battlefield again. It sounds small, but that's huge, because trust is what fuels long-term success. Players aren't afraid to grind, to invest time, to buy cosmetics, because they finally believe the game won't fall apart tomorrow. And it's funny, EA didn't need some overhyped trust campaign or apology tour. They just needed to deliver. Turns out, a working, well-made game does more for PR than any marketing campaign ever could. This might be the most surprising thing of all. Veterans who abandoned the franchise years ago are reinstalling. YouTubers who swore off covering Battlefield are suddenly dropping new videos titled, "I Was Wrong." Even the competitive scene, which has been dormant for ages, is starting to buzz again. Players are organizing private lobbies, running mini-tournaments, and testing how far this game can go. You can see the pattern forming. This is the exact same energy Battlefield 4 had once it fixed itself. Except this time, it didn't take a year. It happened at launch. And that's why this moment matters so much. Because it's not just about fixing bugs, it's about fixing faith. Faith in DICE, faith in EA, and faith in what Battlefield used to be. Let's be honest, the reason Battlefield 6 works so well isn't magic. It's experience. Painful, hard-earned experience. DICE learned from every mistake of 2042. They ditched the forced hero system, brought back classic roles, and doubled down on the fundamentals. They rebuilt hit detection, reworked weapon attachments, and simplified the UI. And most importantly, they stopped chasing trends. There's no gimmicky battle royale mode, no flashy operators with magic powers, just soldiers, guns, and absolute mayhem. It feels like they finally looked at their roots and said, let's get back to what made Battlefield. And it worked. Now, I know hearing the words EA and respect in the same sentence sounds insane, but credit where it's due, they actually handled this right. They didn't panic when the launcher bug hit. They didn't start blaming server load. They came out, owned the mistake, and gave players something tangible. And whether it was a PR move or genuine apology, it worked. Because actions speak louder than tweets. They turned what could have been a PR disaster into one of the most well-received launch recoveries we've seen in years. And that kind of decision doesn't come from corporate greed. It comes from realizing you can't buy trust. You have to earn it. All right, so what's next? DICE has already teased new maps, weather effects, and destruction mechanics coming later this year. And if even half of those updates deliver, we're about to enter a golden era for the franchise. Season 1 is confirmed, Season 2's pass is already in the hands of players who got the apology bonus, and performance optimizations are still rolling out weekly. That's not maintenance, that's momentum. But the biggest thing, consistency. Because all this goodwill only lasts if DICE keeps that communication open. If they keep talking to the players, listening to feedback, and maintaining the same level of polish. This could easily be the foundation for the next decade of Battlefield. Imagine a Battlefield that updates as reliably as Call of Duty, but keeps its massive scale sandbox chaos. That's what people want. That's what keeps a franchise alive. And for the first time, it feels like they get that. You can feel it. The mood around Battlefield isn't just hype, it's relief. People are relieved to finally have a Battlefield that works, that respects their time, that's fun from day one. Streams are thriving again. Clips are going viral. Even critics who were skeptical are praising the game's performance and structure. And honestly, it feels earned. We've been through so many half-finished launches and broken promises that having one major release deliver on its word feels almost nostalgic. It's like the old Battlefield magic is finally back, the kind that makes you lose track of time because every match is its own little war story. Battlefield 6 didn't just fix a broken franchise, it set a new standard. Other studios are watching. Gamers are watching. Everyone saw the meltdown of 2042, and now they're seeing the redemption arc. It's proof that a franchise can fall flat, get mocked by the internet, and still make a comeback if the people behind it care enough to rebuild. And that's what makes this story so powerful. Because under all the explosions and chaos, Battlefield 6 is really about redemption. For DICE, for EA, and for the fans who never stopped hoping. But while we wait for Portal to grow, DICE needs to fix one more thing. The foundation of balance. Right now, everything in Battlefield 6 feels a little uneven. Too much power in some hands, not enough in others. Engineers with infinite rockets, pilots with paper-thin armor. Spotting that exposes players through smoke. None of these issues exist in isolation. They all feed each other. Overtuned bloom makes precision unreliable. Cramped maps make vehicles miserable. OP explosives make infantry paranoid. It's a domino effect. What DICE needs now isn't another content drop. It's a tuning pass. A true stability patch focused entirely on mechanics, balance, and readability. Because the gunplay, it's close. The pacing, it's nearly perfect. But when your core systems fight against each other, no amount of new maps can save the experience. Get the fundamentals right first, then build from there. There's another major mindset shift Battlefield 6 has to make, and that's how it rewards you. The grind itself isn't bad. Players love having goals. The issue is that the payoff doesn't feel meaningful enough. Right now, most players finish a challenge or reach a new mastery level and think, that's it? There's no dopamine hit, no sense of accomplishment beyond a number ticking up. That's dangerous in a live service environment because it kills motivation. But here's the thing. Battlefield doesn't need flashy rewards. It just needs personal ones. Small cosmetic details that tell a story. A nameplate that records your longest kill streak. A camo that unlocks only if you've spent hours in one vehicle class. Or a weapon skin tied to an achievement like defend 100 objectives. Make rewards reflect effort, and players will grind forever. Right now, DICE has the bones of that system. They just need to give it personality. And here's where I step back for a second, because despite everything I've said, all the bugs, all the balance issues, Battlefield 6 matters. This game brought the franchise back from the dead. It reminded people what large-scale warfare in a shooter could actually feel like. It's giving players moments they'll talk about for years. The skyscraper collapsing mid-fight, the desperate helicopter rescue under rocket fire, the chaotic final capture that flips a match with seconds left. Those moments are pure Battlefield. the reason this series built its legacy in the first place. That's why it's worth talking about these issues, because the core experience deserves to be protected. If DICE learns from 2042 and keeps listening to the community, Battlefield 6 could be the start of a brand new golden era for FPS games. Not a one-off success, a statement. So, yeah, that's why I'm calling this launch historic. It's not perfect, nothing ever is, but it's a massive step in the right direction. EA made amends, DICE delivered, and for the first time in years, the Battlefield name actually means something again. If you've been sitting on the sidelines waiting for that sign to come back, this is it. This is the Battlefield you've been waiting for. And trust me, it's only just getting started. So, drop a comment below. Did you expect this launch to go this smoothly? Have you had any issues, or has your experience been as shockingly clean as mine? I want to hear from you guys, the real Battlefield veterans who've stuck through it all. And, of course, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and turn on notifications, because I've got another deep dive coming next week, covering the hidden changes in Season 1 that nobody's talking about yet. Until then, stay sharp, stay in cover, and I'll see you out there on the battlefield. Peace.